Episode 165 of the Parkrun Adventures is here. We've been experimenting a lot with co-hosts over the last few weeks, and my regular co-host fired a few shots last week. So this week it's just the Scotty Trickett Hour. I'm going to host it all by myself. People have been asking for it, and I think it's time we gave people what they want. So
who's been asking for that?
Mel. No, Mel's here. I did try and mute her, but I thought I had the all-powering control.
You
I thought
did.
I could mute you and you could never say anything.
Had I muted myself, I didn't mean to do that. So I did say something that was hilarious while I was on mute. So unfortunately, all the listeners missed out on that. But I can't remember what it was, being a whole minute ago or so. Shots fired, though, Scotty. What?
Oh, well, so we're going to peel back the curtain. Last week you and Lyndall did the intro, and then we caught up for the outro, but I didn't hear what you said in the intro until after the edit. So I was all buddy-buddy with you, great to have you back, and then I listened back to the intro, and you're saying that, Lyndall carried me. I've been dead weight. Did you use dead weight for 4 years? I think, well, that was my interpretation of what you said.
I would not have said dead weight, surely.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
But yes, I thought I'd do an hour solo. Bill Simmons, you won't know who he is, but he's the podfather. He quite often rambles for an hour, and I admire his ability to do it because I think... Doesn't
Bill Simmons do those NFL ones?
Well, he's encompassing all pop culture, American sport.
Okay.
But I just did a minute, and I think I was out.
Well, it's lucky I'm here then, isn't it?
Yeah. I need you, Mel. I need you to bounce off for our witty repartee.
Our rippy repartee?
Yeah.
That's what we should have. Rippy repartee. It sounds like we're all Wascally Wabbits.
Yeah. Not a good start. But great to have you back. And I wrote down a note for this week, my one note for episode 165. I had to remember this, so I'm going to say it now in case I forget.
Okay.
We hypothesised about the name of your newest child, Emmett, on the show, how the name came about. I want the answer.
Oh, did somebody get in touch with you to remind you of that? Because I do recall listening to it while I was off and thinking, oh, okay. And then, nobody asked me about that last week. But last week was a bit of a schmozzle for me because I felt like I was all over the shop. As much fun as
you read the feedback as well?
Oh, I read the feedback. No, I didn't. That was my own feedback. Did I write it somewhere publicly? Did I? Whoops. Meant to say we were fabulous. That's awkward.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. No, you were great.
But you were hypothesising about Emmett's name as in the etymology of it. And
well, yeah, so I said Doc Emmett Brown.
And Lyndall, did she say... She said it sounded like it came from somewhere in America, did she? Or is that somebody else that I'm thinking of? See, this is the problem, baby brain. It's real. It's real, people. I think I probably only just recovered from it with Wes, and now I've got the second dose with Emmett.
Was I right?
Well, we've had a few people say, oh, was it from... There's an old English show. What's the English show called? I don't want to say Keeping Up with the Joneses. No, it's something about next door neighbours or something. And there was a gentleman named Emmett who was a pianist, and he lived next door. He was the brother of the next door neighbour or something like that, random. And I was like, no, might be As Time Goes By or something. I don't know. Somebody will write in and let us know, no doubt. And
no, they won't.
No, they won't. Or they won't.
No, they won't.
Oh, no.
We have no user interaction.
No, not to us officially, but I'll get a message later on. Somebody will message me and tell me what it was that I forgot. Remember how I always used to forget what words were? And I would always get people messaging me during the week to tell me what the word was that I had forgotten. Because you were always never any help. Maybe that's going to come back again now that I've got fresh baby brain. It's possible. But in answer to your question... Yes, sort of, actually. I'm a big Back to the Future fan. I may have a Marty McFly costume for myself, and my husband has a Doc Emmett Brown costume that we've worn to an 80s party or two in the past. And yeah, I love the Doc. And Adam had aspirations before Emmett was born to nickname him Doc, but he's never once used that in the last 6 weeks that Emmett's been here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming. It wasn't, I won't say that we were watching Back to the Future one day and went, Emmett, that's a really good name. Because you don't really hear it till the third movie anyway. However, we were both aware that his character's name was Emmett, and that did not deter us in the slightest. In fact, it just made us like the name even more. So, yes, you were right, Scotty.
Yes, I knew I was. And look, he's got an impressive head of hair.
He does.
As Doc Emmett Brown. So
he does, yes.
Yes, it's all lining up. It's all lining up.
So I hope I live long enough to see when Emmett's hair goes that magnificent white and crazy, because it's already crazy. It's spiky and voluminous, but yeah, when it goes white. And I hope we all live long enough to see that.
Did Emmett go to parkrun with you on Saturday? We were both at home. I'm spoiling the surprise for all our listeners.
He did. And you know, I think I may have mentioned a punami to Linda last week. He is making a habit of it. It turns out parkrun gives Emmett the shits, which is really quite awkward because he's got good timing at the very least. He waits until right at the end when I finish volunteering, and then he unleashes the punami of it all. This week I managed to get it on my jeans as well. So
okay. Let's. Is this where we're going?
This is what our podcast is now. It's me.
No, well, look, the foot's going down.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about this anymore. Much prefer to hear about the great social connections and the fun times you had at parkrun, not what was coming out of your child's body.
Okay. I won't talk about colour or consistency then for you.
Yeah, no, please don't. Please don't. I really, Mel, I don't want to hear about it.
And I'm sure you speak for many listeners when you tell me. See, this is what was missing last week, Scotty. Linda and I think we did all right. But I reckon if you'd been there, then you could have reined in this. And Linda was probably a little bit too polite to tell me that I shouldn't be talking about crap. Because we do enough of that as it is.
Parkrun, Mel. Parkrun.
Focus.
Friends.
Stay focused.
People. Outdoors. Nature. Good morning, yeah?
Yes. You know what? I wasn't run director, but I did get up for just a little sort of announcement. And it was a sad announcement, and I didn't think I was going to, but I got emotional and all choked up and had trouble talking because we recently had a parkrunner pass away. And I was letting the participants know. And what we actually did to mark this one was when the time passed 25:24, which was his PB. His name is Bailey. When the time passed that, we actually rang a bell. And I'm going to get all emotional again, but
yeah,
it was lovely anyway. It was a lovely morning to see the support from all the participants. We encouraged the park runners to do a heart sign with their hands when they saw the photographer if they wanted to show support to his family. And I know it meant a lot to his family as well because they looked at the photos and they saw how many people were there. And the whole Sunshine Coast park running community have really been behind him and shown him support. So that was lovely.
This is it, Mel. I mean, we say it so often, but parkrun is family. And then when you lose someone, it's okay to get emotional about it because it's shit.
It is.
It's real shit. It's emotional shit that is happening.
But I'm hoping you had a less emotional, more happy morning at home this week, Scotty. Anything interesting happen?
Look, what has happened, so we went back to home, and it's all my fault. We're still on this adventuring sort of model, the Trickett family. We're chasing P-indexes, doing all that sort of stuff. But I was a shit husband this week because I think Divonne wanted to go to Darebin, but I just couldn't get my act together in the morning. So by the time we'd actually left home, we weren't going to make it to Darebin. So we just ended up back at Westerfolds. which is great. And we're doing this other thing now that Kasha has recently turned 11 and she can run by herself and she wants to run by herself, all up until the point where it comes to the running by herself part of it.
So she arrives with all the intentions and then it's just like, but I want company.
Yeah. Yes. No. So she took off and then she got a stitch and then I caught up to her, said, do you want me to run with you? And she said, yeah. And then we started running. Then it got really cold and she said, my face hurts. I think my ears are bleeding, Daddy. My ears are bleeding. Can ears bleed from cold?
I think they can, Kasha. I think they can. I'm pretty sure I've been there. I know what pains you're feeling.
I said they couldn't. I said ears bleed, but I don't think it's from cold. But we checked and they weren't. And I gave her an out. So at the turnaround point of the Westerfolds junior course is the 2K point of the senior. Do we call it senior or the 5K course?
It's the just regular series.
Regular, yeah. Anyway, so I gave her the out. I said, you just got to run back up the junior course and you can go back to the car. But here's the twist, Mel. Like, even though she can run by herself, I'm still her father. I didn't want her running through the park at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So I ran back up through the juniors course with her. So I did an 8K park run. So I ran it back to the car.
So you could still get your barcode standing.
Yeah, so I did a 44-minute 8K park run, which was the hardest 44-minute park run I've ever done.
You've got to be a responsible parent too and do what makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah, so great to be back home, but cold and pretty much in and out. It was an in and out affair for the crickets on Saturday.
Okay, well, I mean, not that it would have impacted me if you had gone to Darebin, and I don't at all encourage you to be not a very good husband to your wife, and you should get more organised. I'm quite pleased that you didn't have too much of an adventure this week because somebody has managed to equal me on the Australian most events list while I've been off and has actually snuck ahead when you factor in the international events by 2.
Good.
I don't know. I'm not really willing to let that stand.
How did that happen? What have I done the last few weeks? I can't even remember.
I'm not sure, Scotty. I think one of them actually was before Emmett came along, but I think you must have got the other new one in while I was definitely off. Like, I haven't been religiously stalking you on Strava or anything like that on the weekends, but I just noticed, and I didn't actually mention it last week, but now that I'm back and I'm back on my game with adventures and stuff like that, yep, you're going down, Trickett.
Good.
Just quietly.
Bring it.
Time has come. Adam and I have started planning all our adventures between now and the end of the year to make sure that we well, he wants us to drive places so we use fuel so we get more frequent flyers when we use Caltex cards. Don't even get me started on points hacking. However,
we're going to do that one episode. That's going to be about episode 200 and something. We're going to get the showman on to do points hacking.
Yeah,
when costing me a fortune.
We'll be coming to you from overseas where we've flown to for free because of points hacking. Yeah. So, but it ties in well with me needing to drive far distances to get to new events and things like that. So, yeah, looking forward to being able to report about adventures not from my home park run very, very soon, Scotty. We are joined by a bit of an adventurer now who is also one of the race directors of a very interesting event that's coming up in October. It's not the first time they've had it, so they're old hat at it now. It was launched in 2011. And here to talk to us about the Ned Kelly case. I knew I was going to do that. The Ned Kelly chase and his adventures is Justin Scholz. Justin, welcome to the Parkrun Adventurers podcast.
Yeah, g'day Mel, g'day Scotty. How are you guys today?
Really well, thank you.
That's good.
I'm going to jump in, Justin, and ask the first question because I am intrigued by the Ned Kelly chase, the history of it as much as the structure of it. So can you give us a bit of a rundown of your event?
Yeah, I sure can. And you made some comments a moment ago about not being quite sure how the event works. You're certainly not alone there. And it was something, the concept of the Ned Kelly chase is something that Sharon and I discussed in depth before we actually ran the event for the first time. Because in our running history by then, we'd probably completed somewhere around about 40 or 50 ultras between us back in 2013 when the event first got underway. And what we constantly found is that races about the place had a big field at the start, and everybody took off together when they felt fresh and good. But invariably, the slower runners got left behind, and often they'd end up finishing very late when the crowds at the finish had gone away, and or it was dark and cold. And so we thought that if we were going to create an ultra event, we wanted to do something that was a little bit different, something that genuinely celebrated participation rather than just fast times. And so the basic concept of the Ned Kelly Chase is that entrants in all events, with the exception of the 10-kilometre fun run, they choose a starting time that will allow them to finish somewhere close to 12 p.m. on Sunday. So rather than all starting as a mass group, entrants are looking to finish close to each other at the end of the day. And that means that when entrants most need support out on course, they're going to have more other entrants around them. And when they cross the finish line, as long as they're somewhere close to 12 p.m, they're going to have the big atmosphere of the finish. They're going to have hundreds of people in the park. They're going to have music playing. They're going to have the PA system going. And so it doesn't matter if you're a 14-hour 100K or an 8-hour 100K, for example, you're going to experience that same finish line atmosphere. And for us, that was very important. And certainly the feedback that we've had from entrants over the coming up to the 7th year of the event now, entrants have been very grateful for that, especially those that are usually a little bit slower, because they do get to feel as though they get a bigger finish than what they may not in an event where they're struggling to meet cut-off times. And even the faster entrants are saying that they really like it because they don't finish on their own. They're not running for half an hour at the end all by themselves. So overall, it seems to us to be a very good format. Can take a little bit for some people to get their heads around, but once you do that, it's certainly something worth having a go at.
Justin, it's a brilliant concept. I've had lots of my friends actually do the Ned Kelly Chase. Can you talk about how it's grown over the years? And you said it's been going for 7 years. It's a different concept. It's hard for runners to embrace something that's a bit different. How have you grown over the years, and are you continuing to grow?
Yeah, we've changed the format a little bit. Well, the basic format has always been the same. Choose a start time, aim to finish near a given time, either later that day or the following day. If you're a very slow runner or a walker by choice, we allow walkers as well, then you'll start somewhere late on the Saturday night. But in the early days, we had different formats with the bicycles as well, because there is a bicycle component to the Ned Kelly Chase. But we had a run bike option where you'd have two people and one bike. We had 50-50s where runners would do 50 Ks each. We had relays. We had all sorts of things. And essentially looking at the entry numbers for each of those event types and then speaking to entrants afterwards, that's allowed us to finally settle on a format now that we'll be running for the third time this year, which won't have changed in 3 years. And that's basically a standalone 100-kilometre, 50-kilometre marathon, half marathon, and all of those events are AIMS IAAF certified, incidentally, and then the 10K fun run. Plus what we have is a 100-kilometre bicycle chase and a 50-kilometre bicycle chase. So those entrants that choose to cycle, they're given arrest warrants for the runners out on course, like literally a paper arrest warrant, and they have to open up those arrest warrants on the start line to work out who they're chasing down. And of course, because those cyclists are also aiming to finish near 12 p.m, they start much later than the runners, and invariably they travel the same course, and eventually they catch up to their runners, pull over to the side of the track, and then discreetly hand out a rubber wristband to signify that the runner's been caught. So, you know, it's quite a serious race for those entrants that come along and want to run fast 100-kilometre times. But we've tried to make sure that regardless of the motives of the entrant, everybody feels as though they're equally important in the event. And I must say, it did take a lot of creative thought and discussion and trying different things between not only Sharon and I, but also some people that we're very close with, to come up with the concept that we've got now that seems to be well embraced by all.
I'm fascinated by the chasing leg and the cyclists chasing down the runners. Is there any, you say they get a wristband to say they've been arrested and things like that, but are there any extra, I don't know, spoils of war that go to the cyclists if they catch a runner? And is there any sort of penalty for the runners if they get caught? Like, do you have runners dashing off the side of the course to evade the cyclists and things like that?
Yeah, well, yes and no. This is where the fun component comes in. In our race briefings, before each group starts, we make it clear that if runners want to try to evade arrest when their cyclists catch them, that's fine. They can make a bit of a game of it. Obviously, in the end, they need to submit to that arrest, but they can certainly try to evade arrest initially if they want. We also make it very clear to the cyclists, though, that their first action must be to cycle past the runner and go 50 or 100 metres or whatever, pull over and just discreetly hand out the wristband. Because we do have very serious 100k, 50k marathon runners as well who want to do the best possible time they can. And if they're in the zone, they don't want to be, they don't want to be hindered or unreasonably held up in their race. So again, we try to cater for all. Now, as far as the runners in all the events go, they get their normal awards based on fastest time. And to try to make that even, we ensure that the times for the podium placements can only come from people who finish after 11 a.m. If you finish before 11 a.m., then it's arguable that you might have completed the course in much cooler conditions or in some way had undertaken a different race. So as long as runners finish after 11 a.m., then they awards are based on the fastest 3 times. With the cycling, though, it's not a race. There is no award whatsoever for completing the course quickly on a bicycle. So to ensure that we can give away winners' prizes for the bike events, what we do is we pull out at random from those runners that were captured on the course a top trooper and a deputy trooper. So every runner that gets caught, when they come across the finish line, they drop their wristband to signify their catch into a box, and then at the presentation and celebration dinner that we have later in the afternoon, we pull out of the box the top trooper award. So if as a cyclist you've got 5 arrest warrants, if you capture all 5 of your runners, then you get 5 chances to be pulled out of that top trooper draw. And we found that that's the fairest way, and it works well. Again, it's been really good. There's a lot of excitement and anticipation when we go to pull out that top trooper at the dinner. And then what we also like to do is ask the trooper and or the runner to recollect the experience of the arrest, and sometimes we get quite some funny stories coming out. So yeah, we just try to make the event fun. At the end of the day, there's a lot of serious runners out there. That's great. We all like to achieve PBs and things from time to time, but I think most runners also understand that it's not always about PBs. It's not always about fast times. It's very much about being included socially, enjoying the running experience and knowing that you're in the company of like-minded people who are out there to just be the best that they can be, have a healthy lifestyle, improve their fitness, celebrate and try to promote those things in the broader community. And we believe that Ned Kelly Chase helps to achieve some of those aims.
Love it. Love that you're having a bit of fun. Any controversy around the name? I mean, Ned Kelly was a bushranger. We've got this funny relationship here in Victoria where we've somehow glorified this criminal of 100 odd years ago. How do you deal with that? Has anybody questioned you on that?
Yeah, they have. We've tried to be very balanced and very careful. Obviously, Ned Kelly as the bushranger, hence the chase, Ned Kelly Chase, because you're chasing Ned Kelly. Now, that doesn't, to us, that wording doesn't in any way suggest that Ned Kelly was a good guy or a bad guy. We just don't get into that debate. Similarly, when you look at our banner, when you look at the event structure, when you look at all of those things, we try to have Ned Kelly's helmet about as prominently displayed as the trooper's helmet to show that there are absolutely 2 sides to this story. and we're not glorifying, Ned Kelly and what he did, nor are we necessarily saying that there wasn't a side of him that was good as well. We don't know. I wasn't around in 1880 and before. I don't know anything more about the Ned Kelly story than anybody else. In the early days, we did have a couple of contacts from people who were descendants of one of the troopers involved in the Stringy Bark Creek massacre, and he was quite parochial in his disdain for what we were trying to do, and that disappointed us. We worked with that person for probably a year, in so much as just forwarding them emails, sending them details occasionally of how we were trying to keep the whole story of that time in balance, and really celebrating and providing understanding of what the 1880s were like in North East Victoria. And I suppose if people want to go down the line of saying, well, we should just completely forget about Ned Kelly and forget about Bushrangers and forget about all of the crime that took place, aren't we then, by extension, ignoring the important role that the police had in managing the law, taking down criminals, upholding the rights and the laws of our country? So we don't want the Ned Kelly story to be lost, but nor do we want to glorify or support either side out of balance. And I think we're getting that about right.
I'm really impressed that you've put that much thought into it, to be honest, Justin.
Well, we have, yeah.
I guess it was probably spurred on to an extent by people's perceptions of things and stuff like that. I mean, to me, it all just sounds like a whole bunch of fun. And basically all I really want to know is, does anybody get dressed up as either a trooper or a highwayman, a bushranger?
Yeah, heaps. Yeah, look, it's so cool. Not everybody, because we have all different levels of people participating. Some aiming for fast times aren't going to dress up, in armour. But we definitely have had the odd trooper on bicycles who are dressed up as troopers. Sharon and I usually get into troopers' garb as well. We put our helmets on and we blow our whistles and have our big trench coats and things, so that we're, as we send the bushrangers off on their journey. And we've had quite a few people over the years as well who have made Ned Kelly helmets of some type, be they out of fabric or paper or whatever, and they've run across the line. We had one guy last year, Snowy, who we won't forget, and he was it was quite funny. He was dressed up like a guy from the Wild West in the US, actually, but I guess he was a bushranger of his own type. And he had these two cap guns that he ran around with. And it's a whole barrel of laughs. Yeah, love it. And so, we do. To answer your question simply, yes, we absolutely do have some people that dress up on occasions.
Now, another form of having fun, Justin, is doing a 6-day race through Hungary. To some people, one of those people is you. Tell us about that.
Oh, look, I don't. Yeah, that was a bit, I guess, a year of madness in a way. It kind of sounds a bit flippant, but when you've done over 70 ultras, which I have now, I'm up to, I think, 77, 78.
77?
Something like 20,
hang on,
20 or more.
Define an ultra before you go on.
Longer than marathon distance by foot.
77 of those, okay.
So 42.2 Ks, yeah. And of that 77, I think 23 or 24 of them are 24 hours or longer. So usually the 24-hour events have been running around a track or walking around the track. Although I have done Coast to Cosy 3 times, which most people probably know of, from Eden to Mount Kosciuszko and then part of the way back down. And as I said, I don't want to sound flippant about it, but you get to a point where you've done that many that entering another 24-hour event just becomes a bit meh. It's just another 24-hour event. And if you don't feel as though you're in a condition... Yeah, I know. Like I said, I know. I get it. I do get it. If you don't feel as though you're in a condition to run a PB, or you don't particularly want to compete even at your best level at that moment, for whatever reason, just because you couldn't be bothered, then you start to question why you would enter. Should I buy the rental? Well, I guess I can, because I can go, and particularly with the track 24-hour events, I love them because you're in close company to so many other people who have so much varied experience. Some are there for the first time, some are there to run Australian qualifying distances, some are there to try to get what might look like fairly small totals, but to them it's meaningful. It's just a really good environment to be in, and you can catch up with a lot of people because you're in a pretty confined space. So I think increasingly over the last couple of years, for me, not feeling as though I'm in PB form for 24-hour events, I've gone to just participate, and I've enjoyed that. But I also felt like I needed something that would scare me a bit, something that would challenge me, something that would help force me to focus on an outcome that I hadn't previously achieved. And so that's where the idea to do the 6-day race came in. I wanted to do it as a walker, not as a runner, because, well, part of the reason, to be honest, the 6-day walk record, Australian 6-day walk record, looked pretty soft at 540 Ks. And by global standards, when you look at the national records from other countries, that was a fairly soft total. So I thought, well, if I walk it, I can have a crack at that. But looking at the 6-day run record, it's held by Yanis Kouros, and I think it's about 1,033 kilometres. And I look at that and I go, yeah, nope, I certainly can't be doing that. And I've been enjoying the ultra walking in recent years as well. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll set myself up and see if I can't walk around a 926-metre course for 6 days. So I kind of made that decision really about March last year. So what's that, sort of 16, 17 months ago. And even though I continued to run ultras, my primary long-term goal was to do the 6-day race in Hungary and have a crack at breaking that Australian record. And then the rest is history, really. I suppose I went over there and I did just that. I didn't break the record in the manner that I'd hoped, but I still got there in the end. So that was the important thing.
And in doing so, you also became an Australian centurion, Justin. Is that correct?
Oh, well, again, I guess.
Again.
I'll give you a little bit of background on that.
Please.
On my centurion status, yeah, because that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of with all of the ultra events that I've done, and including with Sharon, because to become a centurion, you have to walk 100 miles in under 24 hours. All right, that's the first thing. So that's 8 minutes 50 per kilometre if you don't stop at all for 24 hours to get over 160.8 Ks. And I first got onto that idea, probably nearly 10 years ago now at the Coburg 24-hour event. And the Coburg 24-hour event's been going forever, like 30-something years. Tim Erickson and Bernie Goggin and the Coburg Gats team down there do just a great job at that event every year. And so I'd been running the 24 down there for many years, and I found out that it co-hosts the 24-hour walk championships as well and the Australian Centurion qualifying event. So I thought, I reckon I can have a crack at that. And I told Tim Erickson, that I would definitely have a go at walking the 100 miles at some stage. Anyway, eventually I did, and I managed to succeed down there. And so I became an Australian Centurion doing that. And then from there, I worked out that there's like a fellowship of centurions. There's 6 countries in the world where they have official centurion events. So I thought, well, gee, wouldn't it be nice to have a crack at all of those? So anyway, Sharon got her centurion in Australia as well at the Australian Championships in 2013, I think, which was at Middle Park that year. It wasn't with the Coburg 24-hour event. It was a standalone event at Middle Park. And she and I actually walked that whole 100 Ks together because I thought, that'd be nice things to do with your wife, go and walk 100 miles. So we did. So we walked that. And then we decided that we'd like to incorporate doing all of these other Centurion events around the world if and when we could as a part of our annual holiday. So we then eventually completed them all, and that included New Zealand, the USA, the UK, South Africa, and what's called the Continental Centurion, which is in the Netherlands. So Sharon and I walked all 6 of those international Centurion events together, achieved our Centurion status together, And we're two of only 6 or 7 people, I think, now in the world that have done all of those Centurion events. So we're very proud of that.
That's incredible. And it's so even though it's not one of the official international events, participating in other events like the Emu 6-day race in Hungary, that sort of still, I don't want to, it qualifies the word, it means you meet the requirements. So, for example, you set an Australian Open record while you were there for the 500-kilometre walk under the Australian Centurion Walkers. And even though it wasn't like an official international event, you can still qualify. That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, yes and no. I suppose I've just given you the background to our Centurion status, Sharon and I. The extension of that is I've walked quite a few other Centurions as well, like duplicates of the Australian Centurions and so forth. Just get rid of that, sorry. And so I think I'm up to either 13 or 14 Centurion finishes now that are officially recognised by the Australian Centurions. And basically, once somebody becomes an Australian Centurion, it's not guaranteed, but you can seek permission from the Australian Centurions to allow you to complete additional Centurions at other events around the world. And in the case of Australia, like, again, Tim Erickson and the committee of the Centurions will make a ruling on that. But usually, if you've already done a Centurion and you're capable of more, and the event that you want to walk is on a 400-metre track around a stadium or something similar like that, where it's really easy for other people to scrutinise the individual to make sure that they do walk and not run, then they will give you permission to do it. So what I did for the Emu race, because it was on a 926-metre track, I was allowed to complete that officially as a walker, which is why the Australian Centurions recognised my distances and awarded me the records. But also in the very first 24 hours, I made the decision to walk 100 miles, which in a 6-day event as a walker, if you want to get your very, very best total, frankly, it's madness to walk 100 miles in the first day. It's just too hard, too far, and all the rest of it. But I decided I wanted to do that anyway because it gives me another Centurion finish, which, as I say, I think it's taken me to 13 or 14. And currently the most prolific Australian Centurion finisher is Peter Bennett, who's done 21 or 22. So now one of my longer-term aims as well is I've got my eye on that. And if I can, over the next 10 years or so, I wouldn't mind becoming the most prolific ever Australian Centurion walker. So there you go, just something else to aim for. So that was why I did the 100 miles and became the Centurion in Hungary, and then continued on after that to walk whatever distance the subsequent 5 days to eventually get to that 500-kilometre total, past the 540 existing Australian record and on to, I think I finished with 572 kilometres or thereabouts.
An event a bit shorter in distance is parkrun, Justin. You've been to a few. Your home is Wangaratta, underwater at the moment, I think.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about your home event.
Yep, there would be one. Yeah, there would be one section down at the boat ramp which floods fairly easily, and the Ovens River is looking really healthy at the moment with some good rains and stuff that have come through. So I suppose from a selfish perspective, I don't mind it when the parkrun course is flooded because we get to see really healthy rivers and good water flows. But the Wangaratta event's great. I just really love it. It's a great, a great testament to Laura Tonkin, who originally set it up, and the team here that serve tirelessly as race directors and volunteers every week. They do a really great job. The course is fully sealed. It's flat. It's just got one tiny little rise of about 2 metres over 20 metres up a ramp at the boat ramp. And other than that, it's flat. So it's fast. Goes along the banks of the Ovens River, which is really quite picturesque. And usually in the summer we get 100 finishes. In the winter, this time of year, it can drop down as low as about 50 when it's minus 4 degrees at the start. But yeah, it's a really terrific event.
And you've parkruned overseas as well. I know you've had a run at Greenpoint in South Africa.
I have, yeah. Well, when Sharon and I went over for the African Centurion last year, that was when we did the Greenpoint race. And I don't know, you probably do know this, you, Pierre, but those South African park runs, they're massive. They've got 3 over there in Cape Town where we stayed, and I think the Cape Town one that we did at Greenpoint had 833 runners that day. And I said to the organisers afterwards, I said, I can't believe how big this is. And they go, oh, there's a half marathon on tomorrow and it's taken away our numbers. And I nearly fell over. And I said, what do you mean? And I said, we never get under 1,000. And they're, I think, either the second or the third largest park run in Cape Town. So if you ever want to go and participate in a big atmosphere park run, South Africa seems like the place to do it. So that was great fun. It's great. And even here in Australia, I've done, I think, Albert Park 2 or 3 times. Ran into you there, Scott, a couple of weeks ago, of course. And, they often have up to 500, I think. So it's great. It's just great to see so many people. It's a really, it's just a good thing for society and for our communities in general that parkruns come along. And it's not in isolation because you do run a park run that might only have 30 people in your hometown, but you feel as though you're part of something bigger because at that moment, all around Australia, there's tens of thousands of runners. That all around the world at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, there's hundreds of thousands of runners all doing the same thing. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else, but I just find it to be a really cool concept and a great way to continually promote the benefits of health and fitness.
And how does it fit into your sort of running schedule of a week, Justin? Like, is it just you're going down to the corner to get coffee kind of thing, 5K in the morning before you do another ridiculous amount later in the day? Or when somebody does as many kilometres as you must to keep fit for these ultra events, how does parkrun fit in?
Usually I like to go to parkrun on Saturday and run fairly hard, not quite at race pace, but hard. And so it works out to be one of usually only 2 sessions a week where I'll run hard. And so I use it in that way. And I really enjoy that because I know most days I run, it's very rare that I'll run less than 10Ks. And usually most days are sort of 15 to 25 in the morning. And when you run that far every day, you really can't go too hard because if you just get too tired and too worn out and you're subject to injuries and all sorts of things. So probably the biggest thing that I've learned in now over nearly 11 years of ultra running is to be really sensible with your pacing on a week-to-week basis. A lot of people say listen to their body, and I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing, but get the planning right. Don't just plan to go out and run hard every time you run because we've seen Sharon and I have seen so many people come and go from the ultra running circuit that have probably just pushed it a bit, and then they've sustained injuries and things and haven't been able to get back. So probably the most important thing I've learned is that. And then therefore for me, parkrun's just the perfect opportunity to go and have a shorter, harder run once a week. And it fits well in that we cycle to parkrun. Our Wangaratta parkrun is 5Ks from home. So we just have a nice gentle cycle down to the start to warm up the legs. And then after parkrun, we cycle with a local bicycle users group, and we normally do between 50 and 70 kilometres on the bike from 9 a.m. So it's really good. Nice gentle cycle down to the park, slam out a park run, and then a nice gentle 50 to 70k ride with the bugs after that. Makes for a pretty good Saturday. Home by lunchtime.
Certainly does, and sensible, great advice to leave us with, Justin. Thanks very much for coming on the Parkrun Adventurers and having a good old chat to us about Ned Kelly Chase and running really, really far.
Oh, that's a pleasure. Before I go, can I just mention a couple of other things quickly? First, I think this is your 165th podcast, isn't it?
It is, yes.
And did you know you're talking on an earlier version because I went and did a little bit of homework. If you hurry up, if you do your 3 podcasts each week, which I know you were flippantly talking about that.
That's a lot. It is a lot of podcasts.
Well, I know, but to get to 186, right? Now, I don't know if you've done the math or not, but the 187th, if you just do one a week, would be on the 17th of December. So I reckon you should hang on to just one a week, and then you give yourself a nice Christmas present when you get to the 187th on the 17th of December. How's that sound?
That's more sensible advice. I like it. It means we don't have to podcast 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's true. It'll be easier to find subject material. Well, it's been a delight. I'm really grateful that you asked me to come on board, and I think it's terrific that you're able to provide this service to people in the broader community. It's just another way of celebrating parkrun and making sure we get the word out there. And I hope all of your followers really appreciate what you do.
Howdy parkrunners, it's Toc reporting in for the Channel 5 news crew. I'm over here in sunny, hot, humid, and I repeat, hot, humid Taman Pudu Ulu. Hey, I've got Harry who's with me. How are you, Harry? Harry, you just ran a pretty good time today for the heat. I suppose you're used to the heat.
Yeah, but not a good time, so I don't know. I'm used to the heat, but not a very good time. So maybe that evens out with you.
Well, I just looked at our weather forecast at home and it's got a feels like temperature of 1.5 degrees. It's southerly and it's blowing its tail off. Over here, it's 29 degrees and about 90% humidity, or as Mel calls it, stewmidity. I'll catch up with a couple of the park runners. This is a lovely little course. There is so many people out here doing Tai Chi, doing yoga, just walking. The path when we got here was fairly quiet, and now there is just a multitude of people. This is great to see so many people out. I'll catch up with some people shortly. Howdy adventurers, I'm about halfway through the course. I'm down here with one of the marshals, Lodgy, who has a high five hand up in the air. Well, how are you today?
I'm good.
It's, well, we've got a photographer coming in to take a photo as well.
Yep.
Cheers. You're a local here.
Yes, I am.
How are the numbers today compared to normal?
Oh, today we have more visitors.
Seems to be a lot of tourists.
Yeah.
When they did the call out, I think we had visitors from England, from Ireland,
Australia,
from some other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's very hot here at my park run at home at the moment. It's about 3 or 4 degrees.
Oh, okay.
It's raining and it's hailing.
Wow.
So,
which part of Australia?
I'm down near Phillip Island, a place called Inverloch.
Oh, okay.
So right down the south, and we've got a fairly bad storm hitting at the moment. And some of our local events have even had to cancel because of lightning.
Oh, okay.
Whereas over here, it's about 28 degrees and about 90% humidity.
I think it feels more than 28, right?
It feels like about 35 from where I'm from.
Yep.
But tell us a little bit about your course. It's a bit of a loop course.
2 small loops, 2 big loops, and then 1 small loop back to the starting, to the finish funnel. Yep.
Yeah, and there's so many people out here exercising and walking that are not part of parkrun.
Yeah, it's a popular park. Hi, Uncle. Morning.
It always entertains me to see runners out running the opposite direction to the park runners. You think, guys, get on board, come and do a park run.
Well, I encourage those that I see, like that uncle. I've been trying to get him to get into parkrun.
Well done. Thanks for volunteering at parkrun, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Loshy, we finished recording and you've just told me that you got into parkrun. Tell us your story of how you got into parkrun.
Oh, okay. My sister in Australia, she lives in Launceston. She got into parkrunning, and then when she told us all about it, and when she came down, we said, okay, we'll do one. Then we signed up, and that's where I am now. Yeah.
So you've done Launceston as well?
Yep, we have. We've done the Lockyer in Adelaide.
Okay, Lockyer Park.
Lockyer, yeah.
Yep, beautiful. Flat course along the river. Yeah, we've done that one.
Yeah, and Jubilee Way.
I haven't done Jubilee. That's one you've got up on me.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So quite. Well, it's quite enjoyable. It's not as hot as here.
No, I don't think anywhere is.
When we went, it was in August, so it was quite cold, like 3 degrees too. But it was very enjoyable, a different kind of experience in park running.
Very, very much so. And every park run you go to is a different experience, and that's the great thing about park run.
Yeah.
All right, well, enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Howdy, park runners. I'm here with a lovely young lady called Trixie at Taman Pudu Ulu.
Taman Pudu Ulu.
Oh, sorry. I've got the locals correcting me. That's very good. Trixie, you did the first timers briefing today. You did a superstar effort. It's your first time.
Yeah. I usually just volunteer like a marshal, but then Ellen, one of the leaders, she said she was talking to people about doing first timers briefing because she always does it. So she came up to my family and she said, just listen to what I do next week and then you can do it the week after that. And I said, yeah, sure.
And how'd you find standing up in front of a group of people?
I find it okay because my parents are drama teachers and I like acting, and so I've got I can stand up in front of people and talk, but it is quite nerve-wracking when you're only expecting 5 people and then you get 30.
Yeah, quite a big crowd apparently today of visitors.
Yes.
And when you stood up and started talking, you said it was your first time, and I thought, no way, you've done this a heap of times before. You spoke very well.
Thank you. I speak in front of a lot of people quite a lot of the time because at school we have different projects we have to show off, and then we have to speak in front of the whole class, which is about 20 people. So it's just an extra 10 people put in.
Yeah, and they're only park runners, so they're all friendly. You know they're not going to bite.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well done, and it's a great park run. You've been here for 7 years, you said?
Yeah. We have been at Taman Pudu Ulu since it started, but we weren't able to make the first one, so the second Taman Pudu Ulu park run was our first one here.
Okay, well done, and great to talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy park runners, I'm here with Colin. Colin was RD today. Colin, this place is hot, this place is humid. Is it always like this?
Yeah, pretty much. Some days we have a little bit more cloud and it's not quite so hot, but it's more humid. But that's just running in Malaysia. We get used to it after a while.
For a poor Victorian, this place, we call it stupid humidity. But you had quite a good turn up today.
We did. I understand that there's holiday week in Australia this week, so I think we had a record number of tourists. It looks like at least 20 plus. Which is nice. Always good to welcome our overseas visitors.
You had tourists from the UK, from Australia, from Ireland, and there were some others that I can't quite remember. So you had quite a good geographic representation as well.
Yeah, we did. Typically our tourists are about 50% from the UK, the other 50% from more or less every other parkrun country in the world. We haven't had any Japanese visitors yet, but I think every other country's been represented at some time.
Okay. Yeah, no, look, it's a lovely little loop course around, so you get to see a few people in that as well, so that's really great.
Yeah, no, we're pleased. It's we're in a pretty good location. We're not too far from the KL Centre, so it's good for people to get to. It's a friendly little park, and and we like it.
And when we started, there weren't all that many out on the paths. There were quite a few people, but as we got into the second and third loops, there were people appearing from everywhere. There's a lot of runners and walkers and Tai Chi groups and all sorts of things out there.
There is, and of course because of the climate here, everybody exercises early in the morning, so we tend to be out here at the same time as most other people. And actually running and jogging are pretty big in Malaysia despite the heat, so a lot of people, we try to encourage them to join parkrun, but a lot of people just want to do their own thing. So, but we share the space, but I think it all works quite well, and everybody always seems to be smiling and happy to see us.
And Colin, just detecting a little accent there, I'm guessing you're not a natural-born Malaysian?
No, not quite, but I've lived here for 15 years, so...
that's getting close.
I guess it's getting that way, but I'm actually from the UK.
Okay, and what's your parkrun history? Did it start here, or...?
Seriously, it started here. We first found out about parkrun back in UK when we were going back for holidays about 5-6 years ago. In fact, it's my wife that first got me into doing it. And then we used to do it on summer holidays. Again, through my wife, we heard that there was an attempt to start parkrun in Malaysia. She got involved with the core group right at the beginning, a lady called Ema, who's not here this week.
She's in Ireland
this week. And then I think there was one particular meeting where my wife was away and she asked me to go in a place, and before I knew it, I'd got shoehorned into helping out.
And that's a great story, because that's the way so many people fall into parkrun. It's not so much walk up to it, it's falling into it and just discovering that it's a great little community to be involved in.
And what's really nice, especially being involved, is that you just get to meet a lot of people that you don't meet in your day-to-day life. So we've now got a whole new circle of friends here that we wouldn't have come across otherwise.
Perfect. Oh, thank you very much for that, Colin, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I appreciate you coming along, and we hope to see you again.
No worries, cheers.
All right.
Hello, and we're at
Divonne de Bains
in France, and I'm with
Sandra, Kelly, Annalie,
And whereabouts are you all from?
The central coast of New South Wales,
And your home parkruns?
Mount Penang.
And the reason you're here?
Why are we here? We're here to hike Mont Blanc and to go to the Netball World Cup. So we're throwing
And to run the French parkrun. So is this your first one overseas?
Yes, first international parkrun.
Okay, and it looks as though it's a perfect day for, well, actually, it could be a little bit warm, but the weather is absolutely perfect here.
Definitely, beautiful.
And how many parkruns have you done in the past?
103, I think I am now.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And the reason you chose to come here?
To this particular parkrun, because it was close to Geneva where we had to fly into.
Okay, thank you. And other questions? Why do you enjoy parkrun? Because you've made a bit of effort to come out here this morning, all three of you.
Why do we enjoy parkrun? We love it. Yes, great community. It's motivation to get you up on a Saturday morning when you would easily stay in bed otherwise. But yeah, we've got a great community parkrun back at Mount Penang, so it's a great group of people to go and run with, socialise with, have a coffee after.
Well, if you've done 103 runs, that gives some idea that you certainly enjoy it.
Definitely.
Okay, we're actually about an hour before the run starts here, so from now we're just going to go for a little walk, and then we'll have a go and see how this run eventuates. Okay, and well, some of us, the run is still going on, but some of us have finished, and I'm with
Ray Compton.
Ray. And you're doing the timekeeping today?
Yes, I'm doing the timekeeping today.
Okay, and how did you get to do the timekeeping?
I've been doing parkrun for about 2 years now. And in fact, I found this run by accident one day while I was out for my morning run, and they kind of kidnapped me along the next week, and I've been having a great time ever since.
So where are you living at the moment?
I live here in France, in Gex, small town, sort of halfway up the mountain. And I work in Geneva.
And where do you come from originally?
I'm a New Yorker, born and bred.
Okay. So how did you find out about parkrun?
I was out for my morning run, and I ran into this very large group of people having a really good time, and somebody passed me a flyer, and I came the next week, and now I've been able to get my wife involved in it as well.
So she's out there somewhere, or come in?
No, she's out. She's off this weekend, but she's here most weekends.
Okay. So how long has this run been going for?
We've just celebrated our 2-year anniversary.
Right.
So we've got we're up to about 110 runs now, 115.
And I notice you've got quite a few tourists. I assume this is normally the case?
Yeah, it's very popular. There's a lot of people who come through Geneva for work, and we're just about 15 kilometers from Geneva. So anyone who knows parkrun always does a quick search of the area and finds us for their Saturday morning.
Yes. And how would you describe the run? The actual course?
The course, it's beautiful. It's very flat. We run around a lake that's got a lot of greenery around. The surface is good. The weather is normally lovely.
It is a perfect day today. If you wanted to come as a general tourist, you can't get any better than this.
This is lovely, yeah. And even through the winter, I mean, there's a day or two with some ice on the road, but aside from that, it's really nice.
Okay, yes. Look, thank you very much, and thank you for volunteering.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye. And we're currently at the Full Moon Cafe in the town of
Divonne Leban.
And I'm with
Lisa Woodburn,
Alan, and Alan Taylor.
Okay, and how did you all come to be here, and what did you think of today's run?
I live very close, and I've been in France for 31 years, and it was our son who set up the Divonne parkrun and asked us to come along to support it, so been running ever since.
He's done a bloody good job.
He also set up the one in Paris. He has.
Well, my wife and I have an apartment up in the mountain, so we came down today just to do the park run.
And that was an hour and a half, was it?
It was about an hour and a half to get here, yeah. So that's the wrong side of Geneva, really. So there we are. And it's too hot today, so I didn't enjoy it very much, I'm afraid.
Yes, I'm here over to visiting Lisa from the UK, and again the run today was the heat was the hardest thing for me today.
And my home runners on the Sunshine Coast, and I will say that the humidity did sort of match a lot of what we get back home. However, there wasn't a beach, an ocean that could jump into that to cool off. Okay, look, thank you very much, and enjoy future running.
A very international feel from the boys this week. Tok in Taman Pudu Ulu, and Dave getting very European in France.
Just goes to show what you can do when you've got a bit of a budget in the podcast coffers, hey, Scotty?
Don't say that. They might come collecting expenses. And I checked the coffers, Mel.
We don't have a budget.
No.
Whoops.
We're in the red.
Oh, well.
Let's carry on with some launches and anniversaries news. I'm drawing a line under this, Mel.
Oh, okay.
We are going to... I've threatened this before, but now I'm really going to make it happen. We've got 2 more weeks of anniversary announcements.
And then we're going to stop.
There's too many. No one's listening. Nobody cares. It's just an excuse to rattle off some names. And for us to mispronounce stuff and get the dates wrong and the states wrong. So we're going to do it for 2 more weeks. So if it's your favourite part of the podcast,
relish these last moments.
Yeah, take it all in. But we have one launch this week, just announced, fresh off the presses. We're launching the world's first parkrun in a women's prison over in WA at Wandu.
How exciting is that?
Yes. Great work from all the team involved in that. So we'll see what happens there.
Very cool, very cool. And
in terms of anniversaries...
Yes. Now, should we do this really slow?
Just hope they're right.
Well, the first one we've got is Armadale in New South Wales.
Geeveston, Mel, I was looking, I got the Jetstar email on Friday. What do they call it? Friday Frenzy or whatever.
Friday Fair Frenzy, yes.
$42 to get
Oh, my goodness. You know what? I was just thinking about this yesterday because we are going to get a new Western Compass Point, and when we do, it means I have to go back to both Western Australia and Tasmania before I can be a navigator. And unless I got to Geeveston before Western Australia happens, and I just don't know Emmett hasn't been on a plane yet, so it'd be great to just chuff on down to Geeveston. But you don't fly with Jetstar, Scotty. Why are you looking at their fare frenzies? I know. They're very cheap sometimes, but you were all snobbish about it. So
I didn't do it. I'm just saying that it came up and it piqued my interest. But
yeah, if Geeveston were a little bit closer to the airports, you could almost just pop over for a day trip, but you'd probably have to go down the night before, wouldn't you?
Probably. Yeah, and it is really, really cold down there at the moment. So.
Oh, it's cold. It's cold the country over at the moment.
Yeah. See how we're dragging out this anniversaries, making the most of it?
The next
Mansfield.
one. Yeah, Mansfield in Queensland. And we've got another Emma in Queensland with Meadowbrook as well.
Palara and rounding out Renmark, an event I have been to.
You have,
many months ago.
Which means we will not be going there for the 2020 Parkrun Adventurers listener meetup.
So it's definite we're going to get to 2020 and the listener meetup next year. Even if the podcast finished, we'll have the listener meetup.
What are you talking about, finished?
It's my threat. I haven't done it for a few more.
I was going to say, you do this all the time. You do this every year. It's like, will we finish? I don't know.
Look, I think the replacement co-host has worked really well. So I think we might start taking expressions of interest. If you want to replace me on the Parkrun Adventurers, contact us, parkrunadventurers@gmail.com. Please your case.
Not necessarily indefinitely, but maybe just as a guest.
I've already had conversations, Mel.
Oh, well, you haven't had conversations with me, Scotty. We might have to talk about this off air, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another big episode.
Yeah, well, they had to happen again eventually, didn't they?
So let's wrap it up. Let's try and not go to our home events this weekend.
Try and not do it. Well, okay. I'm not sure if I can help you out with that one, but I do promise, and as I mentioned in the intro, Scotty, that there will be adventures in the not-too-distant future coming from the Urbacker side of the podcast.
Okay, just not next week, which means I might go home next week as well, and we'll do it all again.
Or you could try to be a bit interesting to make up for my lack of next week.
Yeah.
It's
really hard. Look, I do admire. It's fun adventuring in summer.
It is. It's
much more fun. Like in winter, you got to get up. It's dark. It's cold. I'm a real fair weather adventurer. So maybe let's just go home.
Maybe we should just do the podcast 6 months out of the year during the spring and summer, and then we could be the fair weather adventurers.
There you go.
All right. Well, I would like to podcast with you next week, irrespective of where you go, Scotty. So I'll chat to you then.
Yep, sure. Lock it in.